never won this race. At least not the same year he won the pole.
Average finish for pole winners here is like 13th.
You didn't tell Bill that, did you?
No, I didn't.
No, me either.
But, you know, he said on pole at Atlanta and never led an inch, Bill. So we'll see if maybe he can do a little bit better today. I didn't tell him that either.
All right, we've had an extra pace lap to allow everything to come up to temperature and to let these 43 race engines put a little more heat in that racetrack.
They're not coming around to take the green, are they?
I believe they are.
They're coming around to start the race?
Absolutely.
You got to be kidding.
2.5 days later, we are going racing at Texas.
It looks like they got the green flag in their hand. They do. Green, green, green. Go, go, go.
Boy, Elliott got a start.
Boogity, boogity, boogity. Yeah, he did.
Yeah, Elliott did.
21 didn't.
Elliott did, and Elliott didn't. That's right. It's Sadler.
I think he was wanting to fall in behind him, but he just lagged back too much. Oh, man, you got to tippy-toe through that first turn.
Warren Burton, Jeff Gordon, high and outside, and I don't mean the pitch. I mean that's where they're running.
Boy, you got to be careful now getting in the third turn here up high. We saw it yesterday. Easy, boys, easy.
Darrell, the back of the pack was 3 wide into turn 3. Oh, gosh.
Boy, those guys in the second groove, they can't go anywhere right now. No grip at all. It's hard enough to go at the bottom of the racetrack.
Stacy Compton loose. Holds on.
Oh, whoa. Got Dale Jarrett right up his tailpipe. That's what made him loose.
And that's not unusual. No rubber on the racetrack. A car will be loose. Anticipating as the rubber gets down, the car will start to tighten up.
Up on the outside, Steve Park, Kurt Busch, Jeff Green, Rusty Wallace, Dave Blaney, and Hut Strickland. Everybody else in the bottom groove.
Even if you got to fall in line in 29th, 35th, whatever, getting to the inside is just crucial right now.
What I'm telling my driver,
trying to wreck over there to get into the bottom.
Shaw just got a piece of Sterling.
What I'm telling my driver right now, remind him, we get a caution here at about 35 laps. Just take it easy. I'll keep you posted where the leader is.
Does this look like take it easy to you?
Absolutely not. They don't listen normally.
Well, track position is so critical, and some of these guys know they need to pass them all, and pass as many of them as you can right now.
Kurt Busch falls in line behind Jimmy Spencer. Sterling Marlin finally works his way to the bottom of the racetrack.
See, it's so tempting to go to the outside because everybody bottlenecks up trying to get to the bottom. And, man, you get a run and you want to go around a bunch of cars on the outside, but, woo, you got to be careful.
In the 3 wide.
Whoa, no, please.
Didn't think you could
3 wide, back to 2 wide, 2 wide outside.
I love the spotter.
Yeah,
they never get excited.
But Jeff Green in the 30 car didn't take him long to get back down to the bottom after he got behind these guys.
3 wide here going into turn 1. Folks, I know you probably get tired of hearing about 3 wide, but let me tell you, from a driver's perspective, and Larry knows, that is treacherous racing.
There's just no rubber down. This racetrack's wide enough to run 5 wide, but no rubber, no grip up there on the high side.
Mark Martin had a bobble in turn 4, and Bobby Labonte almost collected him.
That's the thing. When you're trying to all stay on the bottom and you're protecting the bottom, if you don't get back in the throttle when the guy anticipates you're going to, or something happens, you got to lift out of the throttle, you get run into from behind.
Green through 6 laps. It's the first time that Bill Elliott has led at Texas, and it's the first Winston Cup race he has led this year.
Yeah, he started on the pole at Atlanta, you know, but he never even led the first lap. So Bill has stepped it up a notch today. He knows how critical it is to be in that bottom groove out front.
He said this morning, Darrell, he either wanted to be way out front or way in the back.
Yep.
But not in the middle of this.
Really, cars handling well. You hear him get back in the throttle really, really early, way back up in the middle of the corner.
Looking out the back at Ricky Rudd in the 28 car. Here comes Dale Earnhardt Jr. started 8th. He's just picking off one by one. This is a battle for 4th right here with Elliott Sadler in the 21.
But you know what I like about the 8 car, Larry? We heard all these guys say, well, we didn't know what to do. They changed 2 springs and a sway bar this morning.
And one thing NASCAR allowed these teams to do, just to have a little more adjustment in their cars, you normally, under normal conditions, you cannot start with a spring rubber in the front springs. They let these guys put at least a half a rubber just to increase the rate of those front springs. You can yank those rubbers out on the pit stop. Soften that spring rate.
I know Rusty Wallace has a pilot's license, but he is flying through this.
Looking good. Clear by 1.
He's been passing cars high and low.
One of the things I'd be worried about, if my car was good right now, I would be worried about that.
Yes,
because the track is going to go through some major changes as we run this race.
The more rubber laid down, the more it's going to change. Rusty Wallace, real confident, came out here and tested. Took 2 times coming here. They got rained out the first time, but all they worked on was race runs, long runs.
Wallace qualified 28, up to 23rd now. Steve?
Well, Mike, I just wanted to echo what Darrell said about a car that's good early may not be better late. Lee McCall, the crew chief for Sterling Marlin on the 40, said, we're probably going to be loose early in this race, but we'll get better as we go. And in fact, Sterling hasn't made it. He moved forward, so we'll see if he gets better later.
It's what I call anticipation. You got to know what's going to happen down the road.
For 3rd place, Dale Earnhardt Jr. passed his DEI teammate, Michael Waltrip. Bill Elliott has led every one of the 10 laps. Ricky Rudd, though, now has run him down and is just 2 car lengths off the lead. Welcome back to Texas. Bill Elliott's been on point since they dropped the green flag, but Ricky Rudd has taken the lead away.
Darrell, it almost looked like Bill knew Ricky caught him. No sense in pressing the envelope this early in the race. You can see him kind of move high, let Ricky take the lead, getting down into turn 1. Ricky Rudd and that 28 team, they're another team that came here and tested, one of about a dozen teams, and you have to feel with no practice in race runs, that could be the teams that could prevail that has those 2 days of testing.
I believe Fatback's got that old 28 car tuned up today. He's been... They had a good finish there at Bristol, finished 3rd. I think they picked up a little momentum coming into this weekend.
They tested here, what, Tuesday after Bristol?
I think that's right. They tested for 2 days.
20 car looks like it's moving along pretty well as usual.
Kyle Petty and Sterling Marlin, 2 Dodges side by side with Rusty Wallace's number 2 Ford in the mix there. Casey Atwood off the pace has come to pit road.
Yeah, he was backing up big time. I don't know if he's got a tire problem, engine problem. He's got something wrong, though.
We were looking at Sterling Marlin's car here. He's the one back in January for the new repaving job that the racetrack did here, did what we call the tire test for Goodyear, to come here and determine what tire they wanted to run. And Darrell, you know all of that testing's done in race configuration. But this car, Sterling, it's undefeated. It was brand new. He won Las Vegas and he won Darlington.
Boy, that 49 car of
just hang on.
Shauna over there, she took off like she was headed to the wall, but she caught it.
Qualified well. I think her best qualifying effort it was.
It
16.
was, yeah. Yeah, great qualifying run, but looks like she's got her hands full right now. Up out of the groove just a little bit. Oh, and I think got a little help from one of her friends.
She was a little loose. One of her friends made it a little looser.
Excuse me.
That's Atwood coming back on track, trying to get up to speed in the 7th.
You know, here's a guy started 26. Texas has not been that good to him. That's where he's running right now, so he's really not making up any ground. Matt Yoakum, what's going on with Jeff Ford?
Larry Mackey actually faded back to 33rd, and as you mentioned, climbed back up to where he started. Robbie Loomis watching the car go in to turns 1 and 2. Robbie, what's wrong with the race car?
The car just started out extremely loose. It's coming to him a little bit now. It seems like it gets a little nose weight in. He's going to have to wait till that lap 35 tighten up at some point.
Well, as Larry mentioned, this has not been one of his best racetracks. In fact, Mike, this is his worst racetrack on the circuit. His average finish here, 26.5.
Okay. Tony Stewart moves past Ricky Craven, and that will be at 12th place.
Talk about nose weight. You know, these things got 22 gallon of fuel in the back there, and as it burns off fuel, if the car's loose, it will tend to tighten up because it'll put more weight on the front tires, and it'll take weight off the rear tires and tighten the car up a little bit.
And you have to believe that's tightened up. Plus, again, a little more rubber. The longer they run, putting that rubber down, that's going to tighten them up as well.
And more likely, a guy would probably don't enjoy driving a loose race car, but you can tighten the thing up with air, wedge, and other things.
But Darrell, how many times have you been in this situation? The first couple of pit stops, you do 3 or 4 or 5 things to tighten it up. By the end of the race, you've undone all of those things, plus then some to free it up.
Well, instead he got up out of the groove and almost paid the price.
Jimmy Spencer goes past. Tony Stewart now alongside.
And I know maybe TV doesn't do it justice, but when that thing gets up out of the groove and starts to take off like that, a driver's not real sure if he's going to be able to save it or not. He just doesn't know for sure.
I like what Larry said earlier. Some of these cars that look like they're in really bad shape now, the track will come to them.
It wouldn't surprise me to see another groove come in, a second groove, and guys that are loose will be able to move up in that groove and run pretty well.
What's fixing to happen, though, here, we're at lap 24, coming to lap 25. Ricky Rudd has caught the tail end of the field. When he catches these guys, his car's going to change. It's not going to want to turn as good, and we know we're about 10 or 15 laps away from that caution, so these guys are going to fight him hard to stay on the lead lap. Dick Berger.
Well, Ricky Rudd came on the radio on lap 8 and said his car was just a bit free. He took the lead on lap 15, and just after that, he came back on the radio and said, it's still a bit free. I don't want it any freer, but I don't want it any tighter. Right now, he has a 2.6-second lead.
Well, what's really tough is when that leader's going, you know you got a caution coming. You got the spotter, you got the crew chief, got everybody hollering at you. Stay on the lead lap, stay on the lead lap. Sometimes you get yourself in big trouble.
Again, NASCAR has said they will put the caution out at lap 35 for drivers to check tire wear, which is not uncommon when we come to a new or newly repaved racetrack.
Fox is brought to you by RadioShack. You've got questions, we've got answers. By Chevy Trucks, the most dependable, longest-lasting trucks on the road. By Valvoline's Max Life, the first motor oil formulated for higher mileage engines. And by the Home Depot, NASCAR's home improvement warehouse.
31 laps complete. Ricky Rudd, the leader. He has lapped Casey Atwood, Frank Kimmel, Brett Bodine, Shauna Robinson, Rick Mast, Jay Sauter, and now Jerry Nadeau. And that's a little surprising considering how well Nadeau runs at Atlanta.
There he is, and these guys are all calling in and say, check the scoreboard, see if it's right. You know, is that scoreboard right? I can't be getting left.
Rudd's teammate Dale Jarrett has moved around Bill Elliott for second place.
Of course, a big change there this week. Todd Parrott taking back over the crew chief duty. Jimmy Elliott's resigning. And this is the same car that DJ won with here a year ago. I know they felt like this was the place that would be the telltale sign if this team could get their season turned around.
Well, you can't have two masters, and that's what Dale Jarrett was faced with. Todd and Jimmy both trying to make calls, and like Dale said, he didn't know which one to listen to, and one time it'd be one time it'd be the other. I think there was real confusion in that team.
In 3 laps, we expect to see the yellow. Bobby Hamilton is going to go a lap down before we get there. That's what Ricky Rudd's working on now.
Mike, there's a bunch of these guys that are going to be so glad to see that yellow. I don't think anybody really anticipated us running 35 laps without a yellow.
And I tell you what, I don't think anybody anticipated either. Dale, I've been watching the scoring monitor. Most cars are running in the 32nd bracket, a few in the high 29s. Contrary to Bill Elliott sitting on the pole at 27.80, I have to believe that the guys that anticipated this pace would slow down, pulling that lower gear, more RPM, are going to be better off. But how about this guy right here, Stacy Compton, in 4th place. Came out here and tested. They felt like this team's finally come together. Mike Hillman, the crew chief, finally getting everything together.
Well, he drives for A.J. Foyt, and when you come to Texas for A.J. Foyt, Darrell, that's got to be just like going to North Wilkesboro driving for Junior Johnson.
You got that right. If you're going to keep your job, it'd be real wise to run good here.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. was right up on Compton. Now there's a little bit of a separation there between 4th and 5th. Matt?
Mike, he has faded a little bit as Dale Jr. has been on the radio talking to his crew chief Tony Uri Sr. just about what changes to make to the Buck Chevy on this caution. He says the car's a little neutral in, but it pushes from the center off. He says, but the push is not that bad. One other note, he says he does have a little bit of vibration as the caution does fly coming down the front straightaway. And one other note, he says, Tony, there's some sort of big barbecue going on in turn 3. There's lots of smoke everywhere.
Bobby Hamilton got back on the lead.